Legends speak of a magical flower that can not only cure, but also gift eternal life. Will 400-year-old conquistadors, German submarines, and alive jungles manage to prevent the heroes from reaching their goal?
Watch fantastic recaps by fans of the movies.
The movie begins with an ancient legend about the tears of the moonflower, which grew on the banks of the Amazon. The petals from the tree of life had the unique property of curing any disease, and therefore many strive to find this plant. One of the outstanding searches came from the conquistador Don Lope de Aguirre. He, more than anything else, sought to master the power of the petals. According to one version, his expedition ended in a failure, but according to another, the guardians of the Tree of Life discovered the conquistador. Was erected, de Aguirre demanded that the guards hand over to him the arrowhead that would open the way to the petals. The refusal was met with an attempt from the conquistador to take possession of the artifact by force. But even the forces of nature opposed him, and the members of the de Aguirre expedition found themselves under the power of an ancient curse. The jungle swallowed them, but now the conquistadors could neither die nor move away from the river. The plot then shifts to London in 1916. MacGregor, brother of Dr. Lily Houghton, retells before the scientific community the ancient legend of the tears of the moon, based on his sister's research into stories of the search for the healing plant. The narrator argues that this legend is not fiction, but scientific fact that can defeat disease and prevent epidemics that claim the lives of British soldiers in the trenches. MacGregor asks British geographers for access to their archives and to the arrowhead found in the last belongings of the missing expedition. However, the scientists reject his request, stating that their archives are for real explorers, not amateurs. While MacGregor appeals to the scientists, his sister Lily, hearing the rejection, secretly infiltrates the community's archives. On the way, she inadvertently meets Prince Joachim, also searching for the Tree of Life, not only for himself but also for Germany. Lily identifies herself as a secretary, avoiding further questions. She is caught in the archives by one of the scientists, whom Lily is forced to temporarily immobilize with chloroform. In order to leave the building unnoticed, Lily disguises herself, replacing her dress with a traveler's costume. As she makes her way through the corridors, she accidentally stumbles upon crates containing the belongings of the missing expedition. In one of them, she discovers the arrowhead and grasps the ancient artifact. At this time, Prince Joachim and one of the scientists who intended to give the expedition's belongings to the prince in exchange for a generous donation to the community enter the room. They do not find the item they are looking for and spot Lily. After a short chase, the girl finds herself hanging from a ladder protruding from a window. The prince asks her to hand over the box containing the artifact, promising her help. Lily tosses him the box and herself jumps into a double-decker bus that happens to be under her window. The prince opens the box and realizes that the artifact has been stolen by the girl. He interrogates an archives employee to find out the thief's name and kills everyone present when the archivist accidentally tells him his real name. Lily and MacGregor decide to head to Brazil in search of the petals, where they must find a skipper for a trip down the Amazon. Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe in the Amazon, skipper Frank Wolf organizes river trips on his old boat with a rented engine. He scams at every turn to extort more money from the tourists, telling them scary stories to get paid extra for returning them alive, and familiar Indians staging fake attacks on the visitors. When Frank returns to Porto Velho harbor, he is met by Mr. Nilo, to whom the skipper owes money for the engine. But the guy doesn't have enough money to pay him back, and the creditor takes the engine from the boat. To get the engine back, Frank must find 5,000 rias in a week, but if the money is gone, he may lose the boat as well. Mr. Nilo owns most of the boats in the harbor and wants to own all of them. Lily and MacGregor Horton arrive at Porto Velho and are going to rent a boat from Mr. Nilo. During this time, Frank stalks the lender, watching where he hides the keys to the engine box. He sneaks into his office through a window just as Lily comes in to talk about renting a boat. Frank introduces himself as Mr. Nilo and has a conversation with the lady through the door. Eventually, she manages to get into the office and they talk in private. Lily declares that she has a considerable sum at her disposal, ready to be spent on an expedition to the source of the river. On a map, she shows the place where she plans to go. The man tries to dissuade the girl, warning her of the grave dangers of the journey itself and the appointed place. She informs him that she began her journey to the Amazon in search of the tears of the moon. Frank laughs at her idea, calling the stories about the flower pure fiction. During the dialogue, he emphasizes that he has no way to open the drawer in which Mr. Nilo has secretly stashed the key. Lily easily unlocks it, and they move to the bar to discuss their upcoming trip. During the negotiations, Lily discusses the cost with Frank, continuing to assume he is Mr. Nilo. At this time, her brother enters the bar accompanied by the real shipowner. Lily is annoyed by the deception and leaves the place, but Frank manages to spot an arrowhead under her shirt, which she uses as an amulet. He proceeds to bargain with the travelers and declares that he is the only one capable of getting them to their intended destination. This is when a jaguar enters the bar, instantly causing panic. Frank engages in a fight with the animal and eventually forces it to retreat. The fight with the jaguar impresses Lily and she agrees to set sail with Frank, but insists that they start sailing immediately. The skipper returns to his boat and starts the engine. There he is greeted by the jaguar he had a fight with at the bar. The wildcat inhabits the same vessel in company with Frank. While Lily and her brother were looking for someone to take them up the river, a man was constantly watching them, just as they began loading their belongings onto the boat. Bird traders approached the wharf, claiming they would sell them as trophies. The girl decides to ransom the unfortunate creatures, and she is immediately kidnapped. Meanwhile, Mr. Nilo's men notice that the engine is missing, and Frank insists that the time to set sail has come. MacGregor wishes to wait for his sister, but the skipper sails away. Meanwhile, Lily, imprisoned in a cage, uses her skills in unlocking locks to escape her captors. She cleverly eludes them. After a brief chase, she ends up on the boat next to her brother and Frank. The captain asks why she didn't take the opportunity to jump into the water to get away, and MacGregor explains that she has no swimming skills. Frank wonders why Lily is being pursued, but she evasively replies that she has something that attracts other people's attention. Meanwhile, on a German submarine, a man reports that the girl has managed to escape. The prince decides to search for her on his own, claiming that the Tree of Life is the key to Germany winning the World War. He gives the order to surface, and a submarine appears right in front of Frank's boat. Prince Joachim begins firing at the fugitives with a machine gun aboard the submarine, and then launches a torpedo at them. Thanks to a successful maneuver, Frank avoids being hit by the projectile. But the harbor is engulfed by powerful explosions and the submarine crashes into the pier structures. Frank and his passengers begin the long journey down the river. During this journey, MacGregor approaches Lily, asking who is following them. The girl replies that she does not know, but assumes it is the Kaiser's youngest son. During the voyage, the travelers come across Amazonian dolphins. Frank cautions that the locals' belief is if you look into the eyes of a dolphin, you will have nightmares at night. Lily ignores the skipper's warning and continues to admire the animals. After studying the map, the girl persuades the captain to turn right, claiming that this way they can save 2 days of travel. Frank warns that there are many rapids along this route, but Lily insists. Meanwhile, Prince Joachim, who has lost his girl, decides to ask Don Lope de Aguirre himself for the way to the Tree of Life. Despite the remarks of his sailors, who believe the legend of the Conquistador to be fiction, he orders a course to be set leading to the cursed Spaniard. Frank suggests they anchor off the shore for the night. Lily asks him about the most extensive bath he promised before the voyage, and the captain suggests she take a dip in the Amazon. Frank also eliminates a rat and throws it into the river. The piranhas instantly lunge for the meat, which he deftly retrieves for dinner. After dinner, MacGregor goes down into the hold, and Lily tells Frank that she is looking for the tears of the moon to heal as many people as possible. Her brother, meanwhile, encounters a jaguar in the hold that the captain had a bar fight with and runs outside in terror. When Frank calms the animal, the brother and sister realize that the fight they saw was staged. Lily concludes that the captain always lies. Prince Joachim descends into the cave with his men. According to him, this is where the curse caught up with Aguirre. He discovers the fossilized remains of the Conquistador and drops a few drops of river water on them. The fossils come to life and kill one of the prince's subordinates. Joachim reminds him that the Conquistador spent many centuries in agony far from the river. but the tears of the moon can break the curse and set him free. He asks for help in finding the arrowhead in exchange for his freedom. The Conquistador agrees, whereupon the prince blows up the dam blocking the water and floods the cave. Under the influence of the water, the Conquistador's remains start to reanimate. Lily awakens from a nightmare where she sees Don Lope de Aguirre with snakes crawling out of his body. The boat, meanwhile, is approaching the rapids that Frank warned her about. The captain suggests hiding valuables in the hold, and Lily hands the arrowhead to her brother, who goes below. Frank asks his pet jaguar to fetch the artifact. McGregor shelters the tip in his bag, himself going upstairs after seeing the dangerous animal. The boat, meanwhile, traverses rapids, and a waterfall awaits them at the end of the journey, thanks to Frank's skill in steering the boat. The travelers avoid falling into the abyss. While fighting the elements, the jaguar finds a broken liquor bottle and knocks it over. The cat still does not deliver the ancient artifact to Frank. After steering the boat into the correct river, the travelers stop to chop some firewood. At this time, McGregor shares with Frank the reason for his accompanying his sister. In England, he was repeatedly offered marriage, but after learning that he was not attracted to women, those close to him turned away. His sister remained his only support, and so he traveled with her, seeking to ensure her protection from danger. Left alone on the boat, Lily discovers Frank's locked cabin, which he has asked her not to enter. Determined to investigate the skipper's secrets, she sneaks inside and discovers maps similar to those in her possession. This is how she realizes that Frank was also looking for the tears of the moon. The travelers return to the boat, and when the captain catches the girl in his cabin, she expresses her anger at him for hiding his search for the Tree of Life. The man admits that he used to really look for it, but then gave up the idea and started organizing excursions on the river. Frank returns all the maps to Lily, and she remarks that the Conquistador cartographer did a great job. The skipper replies that not only did he work hard, but he lost his life over something that doesn't exist. Meanwhile, McGregor is being shot with sedative darts. When Lily and Frank go upstairs, they are struck by the same weapons. The travelers regain consciousness in the boats of the local natives. They are brought to a village, and while they are being led to the chief, the girl manages to steal a fang from one of the Indians. She uses it to slowly try to cut the ropes that bind their hands. Frank translates the words of the local leader. He informs her that the tribe asks that they hand over their ancient artifact and leave, leaving all their belongings and the captain behind. Otherwise, they will be destroyed and take the artifact by force. Lily is asked to relay her response to the leader. She refuses to agree to the terms, promising to return it as soon as she discovers the tears of the moon. She also asks for the men's release, offering her own life in exchange if the Indians decide to kill her. Frank pretends to relay her words, but actually tells the natives about the girl's persistence. Lily successfully frees herself by cutting the ropes with her fang and grabs a spear from one of the warriors. When she lunges at the Indians with it, no one prevents her, and soon everyone starts laughing. It turns out that Frank only asked his Indian friends to scare the Englishmen in order to get possession of the spearhead. Lily becomes even more annoyed with the captain and finally loses confidence in him. Meanwhile, one of the tribeswomen, who introduces herself as Trader Sam, helps the girl interpret the inscription on the spearhead. In her opinion, the artifact contains information that tears of the moon can not only cure all diseases, but also restore mental balance. She also claims that the flowers on the Tree of Life should bloom under the light of the full moon, and this will happen in 2 days. She points to a spot on the map that is described on the tip as a snake biting its tail. Lily realizes that she has been on the wrong path and the Tree of Life is near an Indian village. She stops believing Frank and decides to go in search of tears of the moon alone in a canoe. The captain objects, but the girl gets angry with him, pays for the rest of the boat trip, and goes to rest. During the night, the cursed remains of conquistadors come down to haunt the village. Frank warns Lily of the attack and offers to save herself, then asks her to give him the tip. The girl doesn't believe him until she sees with her own eyes the bodies, from which snakes crawl out and attack the locals. Frank engages in a battle with the ancient mummies, after which he and Lily try to escape. But one of the attackers catches the girl, takes the artifact from her, and gives it to the mummy Don Lope de Aguirre. The Conquistador climbs a tree in an attempt to take cover, but Frank catches up with him, and a fight ensues. D'Aguirre pierces the skipper with his sword, but he manages to catch the arrowhead. Falling from a tree, Frank throws the artifact to Lily. Trader Sam tells the girl and her brother to save themselves and get away from the river, but MacGregor injures his leg, and Lily is forced to run away on her own. The mummies are not interested in people. Only the arrowhead pursues them. She manages to retreat far enough away that the ancient remains can't catch up with her. During this time, the souls discuss the fact that they have seen a spearhead that can point the way to the tears of the moon and lift the curse. In their conversation, they mention that Francisco must answer for everything, probably referring to Frank. They decide to delay revenge and use Prince Joachim's help to find the arrowhead. There are also bees flying around the old mummies, in addition to snakes. Don Lope d'Aguirre orders that information about the artifact's whereabouts be given to the prince. At sunrise, Lily searches for MacGregor, but is met by Frank. The girl is overjoyed to see the captain alive. Her brother and trader Sam approach them, and MacGregor notices a huge blade sticking out of Frank's back. Lily doesn't understand how it's possible that the captain is alive with such a wound, and then he confesses that he himself is a conquistador named Francisco and is about 400 years old. He promises to tell everything after they remove the sword from his body. Frank and Lily decide to continue the search together, but MacGregor is forced to stay in the village due to problems with his leg. Meanwhile, Prince Joachim spots bees in the periscope and orders the hatch to be opened. The insects land on a spot on the map where he should head for the tip. Aboard the boat, Frank and Lily are headed to a set point, and the man tells his story to the girl. Francisco's father was a mercenary who served under Aguirre's father. Upon his death, the warlord's father took the boy into his home and he grew up with his son, becoming brothers. After they grew up, Aguirre had a daughter who became gravely ill. He made a promise to the girl to find the tears of the moon and save her. The Conquistadors crossed the ocean, but every step in the jungle was incredibly difficult. Francisco was willing to do anything to help his friend save the child. It was he who became Don Aguirre's cartographer. The Conquistadors faced illness and the hardships of traveling. However, at the most difficult moment, they were saved by the guards of the Tree of Life, using the tears of the moon to heal them. Don Aguirre demanded that the tribal leader hand over an arrowhead and guide him to the Tree of Life. When the Indian refused, the Conquistador killed him and began the extermination of the village. Francisco refused to participate in the bloodshed, trying to protect the chief's daughter who had the tip. However, Aguirre struck him with a dagger and chased after the girl. The dying chief put a curse on the Conquistadors that they must stay by the river forever. The jungle continually brings them back to its waters. Aguirre did not forgive Francisco, constantly pursuing him. The former friends fought. When Frank got bored with this, he led the Conquistadors to a cave through which the jungle could not return them to the river. Over 300 years, his former comrades turned into monsters. Frank himself built a town, made friends, and even went in search of the tears of the moon. When his efforts failed, he abandoned the quest. But like all conquistadors, he couldn't leave the river, so he decided to lead excursions along it. His only friends all this time were the wild cats he found in the jungle. MacGregor and Trader Sam are canoeing at this time when the submarine of Prince Joachim surfaces. The Indian escapes by plunging into the river, while Lily's brother is captured by the German. The kidnapper threatens to destroy the Indian village with a torpedo, demanding that the man reveal his sister's whereabouts. MacGregor, under pressure, is forced to give up the information. The prince also makes it clear that he had no intention of sharing his discovery with Don Aguirre. When Frank and Lily reach the site, the skipper dives in and discovers an ancient mechanism that opens the way to the tears of the moon. He persuades the girl to make the dive with him. The structure is very cramped and he cannot reach the opening lever. After much persuasion, she agrees. Frank assists her when she becomes entangled in the lattice structure. He swims out for air and passes her through a kiss. At one point, he is attacked by piranhas and the man fails to make it back. But with one last effort, Lily is able to move the lever and the water from the river bay begins to escape. Frank finds the girl and brings her back to consciousness. When the water is gone, the travelers realize that they have found the place they were looking for. Lily urges Frank to use the tears of the moon to dispel the curse and start peaceful wanderings, even invites him to London, promising to show him all the sights. However, the man has already made up his mind to take advantage of the opportunity to leave peacefully forever. The girl becomes angry and begs him to live another life. Meanwhile, a submarine appears on the surface and Prince Joachim and MacGregor emerge from the hatch. The monarch's followers take the travelers prisoner, and Joachim himself takes the artifact away. He intends not only to win the war, but to rule the ages. An ancient city rises out of the water, and the whole group travels in Frank's boat to one of its tunnels. There, they discover the Tree of Life, but it was dead. Prince Joachim instructs Lily to force it to come back to life. The girl refuses and the kidnapper threatens to kill everyone, but Frank offers to help on the condition that he would let his friends go and provide him with one flower petal. Prince orders MacGregor to be left in the boat, and he himself, accompanied by the group, Frank and Lily, heads for the Tree of Life. They reach a huge stone ball and Frank tries to locate the hole for the tip. But he is unsuccessful. The prince demands that Lily help, and she also demands the petal. Joachim says he only agrees to hand over one, and the friends need to determine which one gets it. Frank replies that he only agrees to over his dead body. The girl approaches the balloon. She and Frank break the tip and discover an emerald inside, which must be inserted into the hole. They succeed and the Tree of Life blossoms. While the others stare in surprise at the tears of the moon, Lily snatches a gun from one of the guards and shoots Frank. He falls into the water. Lily demands her petal. Meanwhile, an undying Frank makes his way to his boat and helps MacGregor free himself. While Prince is listening intently to the sounds of gunshots coming from the boat, Lily rushes towards the tree and runs through the branches. But the moon in the sky begins to shrink and the Tree of Life dies again. At the last moment, Lily plucks the last petal of the tears of the moon. The branch beneath the girl breaks and she hangs over the water. Prince Joachim demands to give him the flower, threatening to kill her brother. However, Lily throws the petal down, where Frank catches it and herself clings to the branch. Meanwhile, mummies of Conquistadors appear on the scene, having learned from one of the bees that the prince has broken their agreement. Joachim appeals to Don Aguirre to help retrieve the petal, promising to provide whatever he wishes. But the Conquistador doesn't believe him anymore. Lily tries to elude the monsters, and to distract them, Frank demonstrates the petal. He drops off MacGregor and the Jaguar, and himself directs the boat away from the Tree of Life. Lily climbs down from the tree and joins her brother, and the monsters climb into the boat to Frank, where they begin to fight him. Prince Joachim tries to kill MacGregor and Lily, but the man hits his opponent several times before a stone block from the ancient city falls on him. The brother delivers Frank's last words to his sister, in which he begs to convey that the girl has become the whole world to him. Don Aguirre defeats the skipper, but instead of a petal in his hand, he discovers a stuffed bird. Frank asked MacGregor to give the tears of the moon to Lily. The girl rushes ashore to follow the boat, but it crashes near the entrance to the tunnel and blocks the river. The water leaves and the jungle chains the Conquistadors to the stone walls of the ancient city as before, trying to drag them toward the river. Did all of them, including Frank, turn into fossils? Lily discovers the figure of the skipper and puts a petal of tears of the moon into his lips, and the magical plant brings Frank back to life. He embraces the girl and they exchange a kiss. Another flower blooms on the Tree of Life. The friends return to Porto Velho and later to London. MacGregor speaks again to the geographical community and tells them that the tears of the moon is not fiction. He turns down an offer to join the scientists that he was given after the voyage. At the end of the movie, Frank, Lily, and the Jaguar get into a car in London. Now the skipper is going to learn how to drive a car.
Watch fantastic recaps by fans of the movies.
What secrets of the ancient world or future technologies are hidden in the Amazon forest? What do you think? We are infinitely grateful for your interest in the channel. Leave your thoughts, opinions, and wishes in the comments below the video. This will help to make the content more exciting.